Good afternoon. My name is Allie Branco, and I'm here with a very special guest, Mr. Anthony Branco. Thank you for being here. We're very happy that you chose to be a part of this exciting project. What branch of the military were you in?
So I was actually in two branches. I started out in the Navy, ended up doing 10 years Navy, and then 12 years Air Force. So Navy was always my first love because I wanted to be on the ocean and do some traveling. But after I had a break in service to go study abroad, in Portugal, by the way, I ended up, when I came back, I ended up switching to the Air Force because I had always heard that the accommodations were better in the Air Force. So I switched to the Air Force and they were right.
What did you serve?
So I joined, in summer of 1987, after I graduated from Westport High, I decided to take the summer off and just enjoy the summer because I knew that I was going to boot camp in the fall. So boot camp was September of 1987, and I just wanted to mentally prepare myself, and I also had a job in the summer so that's when I joined. I went to boot camp in Orlando, Florida, and that was quite the eye-opening experience, but it's what I needed.
Where did you serve?
So, as I said, boot camp was Orlando, Florida, and that was a couple of months long. And then they sent me to a ship. So now, when I signed, I don't know if they do this anymore, but when I signed, enlisted, I asked for a guarantee West Coast because I really wanted to see the West Coast and hopefully go to California. And I was a big Van Halen fan back then, so I was always hearing about California and just really wanted to go to California. So I was stationed in Oakland. There was a Naval Supply Center in California. It's closed these days. Also NAS Alameda, the Naval Air Station. So that was in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I got to know the San Francisco Bay Area really well because I lived there for 3 years while I was stationed in the Navy on active duty on board a ship that was constantly going out to sea in the Pacific Ocean.
What was your job in the military?
So my job was interior communications electrician in the Navy, and that had to do with not just electrical sockets, but telephones, VCRs at the time. I was in charge of making sure the captain had good communications in between our ship and the other ship on the side of us, because my ship's job was to refuel aircraft carriers on one side, battleships on the other side. So we were the replenishment ship. We used to call ourselves the 7-Eleven of the fleet. So my job was to make sure that everybody had good communications, not only inside of our ship, but also with the other captains of the other ships.
What were some of the reasons you joined the military?
So I joined the military because I felt like I really wasn't going down a good path as a teenager. I was kind of following the wrong crowd and getting in trouble. And I was also working in the sweatshops in Fall River. My uncle had owned a rugby shirt place, and it was really hot in the summer, very humid. There was no air condition, and it was tough work. And I just felt like I wanted something better in life, and also wanted to prove not only to myself but to my family and friends that I could do more than just work in a sweatshop, if you will. And I also wanted to travel, see the world, and learn a trade. And I wasn't ready for college, so that I felt like the military was the best course for me at that time.
What was boot camp like?
So boot camp is it's a lot of things, but what it mainly is a mind game. They want to see how bad you want to be there. They push you to the brink. They make you do push-ups in the mud, make you do push-ups in the rain. They'll talk bad about your mother, and it's a lot softer these days than what it used to be. But boot camp is about learning discipline. It's about marching. It's about learning how to handle your weapons, and it's about learning how to become independent, learning how to be on time, learning responsibility. It's so many things that really kind of makes an 18-year-old grow up really fast to become an adult.
Can you tell me about a memorable experience during your service?
Yeah, so I'm just looking at my notes here since my memory is not what it used to be, but I actually have quite a few memorable, but the ones that came to mind is the being part of the Panama Noriega invasion. So in 1989, the Marines invaded Panama City and went after Noriega for being a big part of a big drug cartel. But my ship had just been there, so we were in Panama City, out on Liberty, which means we had free time walking around and enjoying whatever Panama had to offer at the time. And I just remember seeing lots of people with machine guns and kind of knowing that something was up, and we were getting called back to the ship. Um, right away, we had to go back by a certain time, and that was because our ship had to take off and go out to sea to support the battle group Missouri, which was a battleship before the Noriega invasion took place. So besides that, my ship was coming back from Canada when the 1989 earthquake, San Francisco Bay Area earthquake happened right in the middle of the World Series of the 1989. And for the next, I just remember pulling into the San Francisco Bay Area and seeing not only was the power out, but there was all kinds of fires. It was just a very eerie feeling. And we spent the next 3 months in San Francisco doing humanitarian missions for the people that were suffering in San Francisco. Um, as far as my deployments go with the Air Force, being in Kuwait and Iraq, the most memorable moments were, we had a lot of incoming rockets into the base from enemies outside the base, and one night one came kind of close to where I was walking. So that's a really eye-opening experience. Seeing scorpions and camel spiders when you're walking around the flight line where the planes are is also very memorable. And I have to say, coming back from Iraq just in time, 2 weeks before your birth, was probably the best thing that could have happened to me. So I made it just in time for Allie's birth.
What was the most challenging part of your time in the military?
The most challenging part, I would say, being away from home. As a teenager, it really it makes you homesick. You think you're missing so much over here, but you're really not. I look back at it now, and it's probably the best thing I ever did for my life and my career. But when you don't realize it when you're in it, and when you're a teenager, you think you're missing all this great times with your friends. But it's so worth the sacrifice for our country and for our careers.
When do you feel the most homesick?
When did I feel the most homesick? Well, you have to remember, I was in the military in a time where there was no internet and there were no cell phones. So I would say when most of our wingmen and sailors were, all the people that I served with, when they were home with their families and I couldn't be because I was on the opposite coast, that was the time I felt the most homesick.
How did your image of military life How did your image of military life before you joined? What was that like?
My image of military life before I joined, I just thought of it as constantly physical, like boot camp, basically, jogging and all that, and marching. But it's so much more than that. It's a job. It's an actual job where when you're done with your job, you have some time off. So, I wasn't exactly thinking about it that way, but I was able to save money for the GI Bill to go to college later, and those are things that I just wasn't thinking of. So I'm glad it was more than just physical getting in shape.
How did your perceptions change after serving?
My perceptions change after serving is how lucky we are to live in a country that has so many things. There are people that complain about things that are going on in our country, or whether the price is high and stuff, but we still have it so much better than so many other countries. And I think that's important to remember, because that's something that you don't learn if you just stay in the Westport area all your life. And there's a lot to be learned if you actually travel the world, see other countries, learn, learn about other cultures. And that's when you realize, yeah, it's great. Other places are great, and some places are also great to live, but a majority of the time you end up missing home and realizing that, we're so lucky for what we have here.
What are some of the things you remember about adapting to military life?
Some of the things I remember about adapting to military life, well, you can no longer sleep in. You have to get up early every day. Um, you can't just be on time. If your appointment or your class begins at 11, you better be there at 10:45. So, like they say in the military, if you're early, you're late. The expectation is that you are um, preparing for the unexpected and always being prepared, and therefore, promptness is really important, so that nobody's waiting for you. You're waiting for the higher ups. You're waiting for your appointment.
How did your service shape you as a person?
It shaped me in every possible way I can think of. It shaped me as far as, how we raise our children. It shaped me as far as learning how to how to manage money. It shaped me how to take pride in what I put into my body and not just eat ultra processed food all the time, and take care of myself and stay active. And it taught me how to be independent, how to iron my clothes, how to take care of my workspace area, and be organized. I mean, it's endless. So, for people who are kind of lost in life and don't know where to go, I think the military is a great option that can kind of ground you and set yourself up for success in your life.
Thank you for your participation in this project, and thank you for your service to our nation.
Thank you, sweetie.